Christmas and dance all do. Everybody in the dance all singing. Everybody in the dance all rocking. Everybody is skanking and a rocking. And a broke pocket deal. We rub up and a scrub up and a skanking. We skank and a rocking and a moving. We move and a rocking and a dub wise. And a happy new year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a happy double wise. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a dance New Year. Great tidings, Natty Jane bring you. Great tidings, Natty Jane bring you. Great tidings, Natty Jane bring you. Pan a broke pocket dear. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a happy, happy, happy broke pocket dear. Sounds called broke pocket day. I never tell you about the day, 'cause I know about the Christmas. I wanna tell you, said I know about the Christmas. Yeah. Imagine Christmas come and I don't even have 1 cent to buy it all.
What means love. Loving Africa, loving Jamaica. But I need to really tell you when your name is Baker or Fonseca. I say Jamaica. I don't know so we see come make me rock it downtown. But I tell you about the song of really nigga, we only cool and no matter what you do, we don't say. Yeah, you know. Because I'm coming from the American blood. I'm here to really set a better example. So make me touch you by your dimple. I'm up there with you simple. Come you see coming from the American blood. So me really I'm going to speak up American. Yeah, you know. This is African.
It will be Christmas time.
Say them a judge they sign.
It will be Christmas time. Little children, get you rocking. Just hear the children sing. It's Christmas time in the ghetto. Little children, little one now, come a rockin' Christmas time. Let me hear you singing loud and silver bells, silver bells, soon it will be Christmas time.
My apology. The mic was off. Yes, it's a good thing I didn't take too long. But of course, I just was saying that a welcome, of course, to the Monday night edition, the Monday before Christmas, of course. East, West, North, South, Central, and Trinidad, our friends in Tobago, and wherever you are, streaming on the World Wide Web, a pleasant good day to you. Yes, of course, I said that of course, we want to spread joy and merriment in spite of the Ebenezer Scrooge, that is the PNM, and of course, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. And but of course, yesterday as well, last evening, the kids around, of course, Port of Spain, East Port of Spain, were, of course, treated by the adults. And I can tell you, Bounty Castle, eats, drinks, and of course, all the niceties that usually they will not get at home, and they got it there yesterday. And of course, we want to do more. And that is why, of course, I am begging for a job, the responsibility to go around on Christmas morning and, of course, deliver hampers, because a hamper will, of course, provide not only meals for the day, but of course for several days, because it's a hamper. You will have to put, of course, the ingredients and all the other additives in order to make it meals for the ensuing days. So that's where we are, and of course we are still, of course, taking in persons who are willing, of course, to provide hampers, or they could provide the cash, as the case may be. We will, of course, respond appropriately by collecting. Of course, you can contact us at 337-6940. Let's see, of course, Christmas in the ghetto.
She was easy to work with. She was easy to live with. She was a community person.
Sentimental words from Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, who, along with other members of the government, are mourning the late Minister in the Education Ministry, Lisa Morris-Julian.
As I speak to you now, she was a gem. She was easy to work with. She was easy to live with. She was a community person.
Sentimental words from Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, who, along with other members of the government, are mourning the late Minister in the Education Ministry, Lisa Morris-Julian.
As I speak to you now, I dread the day of the funeral, when I expect that it will all hang out from all of us.
There were hardly dry eyes in the crowd of mourners, as most government ministers appeared pensive. But as Dr. Rowley recalled how he learned about Morris-Julian's death from his wife, which led to him going to sleep very late and waking up in tears, it was the revelation that she died holding on to her son that exacerbated the pain.
To think of losing her and being told that she may have been hugging her child to her chest as she passed away in the flames. Those of you who have children, it's an assignment that you would never want to have. But she heard it.
If there was one thing that defined Lisa, was her dedication to her family and to her children. She lived that way in life, and she died that way. And I don't think there's any other way that Lisa would have chosen.
Moments before the service, government ministers signed the condolence book in the rotunda of the Parliament. Among them were the Prime Minister, education, energy and communications ministers, to name a few. And they are all conscious of the fact that while they grieve, the People's National Movement must select a replacement to run as the candidate for Dabadi Omera, soon to be Malabar Mosika, as the general election looms. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley and other members of Parliament joined members of staff of the Ministry of Education in paying tribute to the life of one of their own, Minister in the Ministry of Education, Lisa Morris-Julian. Describing it as a tragedy no one could have anticipated, Prime Minister Rowley said he's not looking forward to the funeral as the reality of the situation becomes more real. He said the last time he saw Mrs. Morris-Julian was at a family Christmas party on Saturday.
The last time I saw Lisa, she was working her way through the crowd to leave, and she stopped and took a picture of my wife and some other people around the group, and I was never to know that was the last time I'd be seeing the best representative in the government of Trinidad and Tobago. At 7 o'clock in the morning, my wife and some other people around the group, and I was never to know that was the last time I'd be seeing the best representative in the government of Trinidad and Tobago. My wife and some other people around the group, and I was never to know that was the last time I'd be seeing the best representative in the government of Trinidad and Tobago. I was never to know that was the last time I'd be seeing the best representative in the government of Trinidad and Tobago. I was never to know that was the last time I'd be seeing the best representative in the government of Trinidad and Tobago. At 7 o'clock in the morning, my wife comes through the door and she asked me, "Did you hear?" I said, "Hear what?" And she said that Lisa has died and 2 of her children died with her. I have not yet got over the sound of that news. I stayed up for the rest of the morning and I went to bed at 10 o'clock with that thought still not real. I slept until 12 o'clock and I woke up to discover that I was covered in tears. We will learn something from this, and it is that public service is honorable. And as the love and appreciation pour out for Lisa Morris-Julian, it says that in doing public service, in the selfless way that she has done it, that public service is honorable. She was easy to work with, she was easy to live with. She was a community person. She was a tower of strength without any noise to make it known. Those of us who worked with her will always know that she's gone too soon. May she rest in eternal peace.
Yesterday, I thought I should play the entire clip so that you will have an appreciation of the political Koboism of Dr. Rowley. You must say, a political Kobo that is picking on the carcass. You see, we must not be distracted. We must understand when he says that is the best representative in the government of Trinidad, in his government, we have to examine that story as well. And it's only on the corridor and to another extent to the ground report, you will get, of course, that critical analysis to see whether or not, to figure out or to determine whether or not Rowley is genuine with the statement. You see, he has the uncanny ability to come up with these phantasmagorical stories on the one hand, because we're going to play the one where he said he was covered in tears at the timing, and at the same time, he will, of course, exude narrative, expressions, hyperboles that are, in essence, hypocritical when we look at the practice of Dr. Rowley. He will tell you, for example, before he became Prime Minister, that all government officials owe the population the responsibility to be transparent and to be accountable. After all, according to Rowley, and I'm paraphrasing here, they sought our approval for being in the offices that they hold, including that of Prime Minister. Can we say that has been manifested, or has that been, of course, a hallmark of Rowley's administration and he himself? When one looks at the plethora of recusals at the level of the cabinet, including him recusing himself, when one looks at the plethora of non-disclosure clauses, even for the vaccines that we'd have gotten, every other country, of course, was transparent with theirs except for Rowley and they. So we don't have, of course, to make reference to the manifold and many, of course, instances where our God-given resources, whether it's in the form of crude oil, whether in the form of gas, or whether it's the form of petrochemicals, there is always some kind of inhibitant or hindrance for them to say, and Bobby, somehow they believe that they are important when they say that that is not for us, the public. Our gas, our God-given resources, they have been given, of course, the mandate or the responsibility, as slim as the majority is, but the fact of the matter is that they are in government nonetheless because of the Westminster system where it says first past the post, so it doesn't matter. They form the government even though they have only 22 seats right now of the 41 seats. The opposition has 19. The opposition has been doing its part by, of course, quizzing and questioning and interrogating the government, but they are sparse, they are economical with their responses and their truth and the truthness or the truthfulness of their responses. And I want to give you an example that is there now, that the speaker finally had to chide, of course, the Minister of Energy, Young. A simple question was asked of him. How much times he visited Venezuela? And that was, of course, their pending. They ain't given oral answers, neither, of course, written answers. So the speaker had to, of course, read the Riot Act as contained in the standing orders of the lower house and say, listen, you're overdoing it now. A question was asked of you, Stuart Young, Small Pin, Rowley's, of course, handyman, and you have not answered. I've given you until a certain time to, of course, answer the damn question. That is what the speaker, who we know clearly has exhibited and demonstrated a total bias against the UNC in the parliament. Too often not to draw that conclusion. And even in that circumstance, just to answer the question, how many times you went to Venezuela? And of course, he knows that the follow-up questions will be who you met, and he cannot say who he met because it will be the woman that, of course, they brought here in Trinidad during COVID clandestinely, while, of course, all of the residents or the citizens of this country had to stay outside in other people's country and catch the ant, etc. Are talking about, of course, Rodriguez. Yes, the vice president of Venezuela, of course, questionable as the Venezuelan administration is, especially after, of course, the last elections, when, of course, they refused, of course, like Rowley, to give up the proven documents to show that that Maduro really won the elections that was recently contested in Venezuela. He was so brutal, so much so that the recognized winner had to leave the country and head for Spain, where I think he is now residing. But the point I am making is how clandestine, how secretive, how non-disclosing is this administration. And we see it for every blasted thing. If the opposition was not as prudent and as circumspect of this government as they have been, and they were not as meticulous as they have demonstrated, the amount of things that these fellas would have gotten away with, they would have gotten away, of course, with, of course, hoodwinking the population to say that the Property Act, or the Property Tax Act, would have been easily implemented. Because the substantive authority for issuing these evaluation forms never signed it in the first instance, in the very early days, never signed it. But Imbert and them were peddling it and telling, of course, the population, listen, you are going to be fined and you're going to be jailed. $5,000. This is a government by scare tactic. This is a government by coercement. This is a government by forcibly imposing their pernicious acts on the people. This is not what Rowley told us, that if you are in government, you are accountable to the people, and therefore, of course, when that does not occur, you must, of course, recognize that they have betrayed the trust reposed in them. In government, the practice is not so for Rowley. He believed that somehow his asinine statements and his insults and his misogynic descriptions and insults after insults after insults it's par for the course. It's par for the course, people. Those of you who wish to call now, of course, you can do so, 337-6940. But the point I am making is the hypocrisy of this man, and the fact that you must never be in any doubt that he is insincere about the utterances he makes. And of course, in his attempt to try to generate that punchline, the best parliamentary representative in this government, he lost track of time. Because, of course, his propensity to lie is so ingrained and so automatic and so spontaneous. And the amount of tears that he would have, of course, shed He was soaking in tears to exaggerate and to, of course, suggest some kind of empathy and some kind of humane and humanitarian and, of course, what I consider to be altruistic disposition. No, he doesn't have that. Man is heartless as the profession he has chosen to pursue. I talk about geology, which is about rocks. Volcanology or volcanology is all about, of course, volcanoes, magma. So that is extremely hot metal from within the crust of the earth, or passing through the crust of the earth from the core of the earth, heat like peas, burning up anything in its path. That is what he is. So do not be fooled. We are using this, of course, to show that is another piece of deflection, because he wants, of course, to use that as a sympathy, should I say, mechanism to get back into government. Nothing different, of course, to the so-called monkey and the bananas. Remember that? Nothing different to the Calcutta ship unique to Tobago. Nothing different. And the PNM has the uncanny and the evil disposition to use that, because under Manning, to get rid, of course, of Robinson, they couldn't use the race card because he represented African and therefore he was the head of the NAL. So what they use? Necromancy, old talk, Obia and voodoo, when of course they said that Rowley A&I Robinson changed the weather veil on the rotunda of the Red House and put a dragon. As the serpent that was there from since and connected, of course, to the fountain. Give me the phone, please. In studio. Give me the phone, please. Sorry about that, people, but I had to make a little noise here now because I hear in the phone and the assembly will not, of course, respond appropriately. President, let's go straight to the line. No, we don't have it here. Okay, call back. I will keep it next to me. They say that, of course, good help is always in the affirmative when you help yourself. Well, I better help myself tonight. All right, so call back, caller, and I will certainly, of course, take your call. I have the phone closer to me, and I read the attack earlier by saying my phone must be, of course, fully charged by half past 7, so that I will not have the difficulty as last night where the phone was, of course, attempting to cop out on me. Yes, let's go straight to the line. For the time being, we have to do it this way until, of course, we get it back into the system. But that being as it may, let's go. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
A pleasant good night to you, Mr. Lennox, and your family, and all the listeners' family, and all the contributors to the program.
Yes.
In what phone calls. Mr. Lennox, season greetings to each and everyone. Then, Mr. Lennox, I wonder if they're keeping the body for the company. What is going to talk to the dead? Like they're going to talk to the dead till next year.
She's her funeral is carded for, her interment is carded for the 2nd of January. I find that exceedingly too long. But of course, exactly what I'm talking about. Trying the political combo that Dr. Rowley is and the PNM will extract every opportunity. Don't be surprised if on that day they announce election, to maximize the sympathy. And of course, he calling her his best, of course, parliamentary representative. We will look at that tonight as well to see whether or not that is so. But go ahead, my friend. Sorry to interject in the way that I have.
No, it's a dialogue, not a dialogue. That is always telling it's a dialogue.
Yes.
And
Okay.
because the strategy, this is what I tell you, I've been brutal, you know.
Yes, go
I've
ahead,
been
man.
brutal because come January, God's spare life is only 5 months by the Constitution. He have to rule again before he announced the date.
Yes.
And if he go to the full amount, it's the same thing he accused my esteemed political leader of 3 months, 6 days, and how much the hours. He will be doing the same thing so that we know in November next year, come hell high waters, it will be an election.
Yes,
so
yes, for
he's
sure.
using his strategy.
Yeah, but he has limited options, and it will run out ultimately where he must, and therefore it will be predictable at that point in time. But all now he have people guessing. The second is the funeral. Who knows? He might well, of course, call it in some function like that. He's that bold-faced and, of course, irreverent. That man. Go ahead, my friend.
Yes, and now I just read the dates, right?
Yes.
So if next year comes the second, just to justify, give some meaning to the conversation we having, to get the sympathy of the public.
Yeah, that's the whole reason for that. I feel like that you could never keep that body so long. But that's over what,
Right.
2 weeks going on? I mean, come
2
on.
weeks. That is 3 weeks.
3 weeks,
That
yes,
is
3 weeks, yes, 3 weeks. 3 weeks, so closer to 4 weeks then. Yeah, a month. Yeah.
Yeah. So he want to take it into the new year to give the supporters and them something
Yeah.
to hold on to, because for 9 years and counting, right, and 3 months, you had given your supporters nothing, and he had failed miserably. He have nothing tangible
Yeah,
to bring to the
that
public.
political Koboism. Kobo eating of the carcass of the dead. That is what he's attempting to do in order, of course, to gain favor. Nothing different, of course, to the banana and the so-called monkey, and people calling he a monkey. And I mean, is an insult for them to call him a monkey. He's closer to a gorilla. But go ahead.
So they're looking for strategies, and as I said, they're looking for the right opportunity to
Yeah,
pounce.
that's right. That's what is happening
But-
there. That's what is happening. You
But they have-
covered with tears. That is the best parliamentary representative in your government. We will look at that later.
So-
Go ahead, my friend.
So Johnny Sukanan, Faris Arawi is not the best one
No,
again.
not
And he's not the best Attorney General.
No, not Sorjong, not Imsbert, not Camille Robinson Regis, not, of course, Penelope Beckles, and not Hines. And all of them are conscious of what he is doing, and are also conscious that, of course, that is an impossibility for the late Miss Morris-Julian to be the best representative in the government of Trinidad and Tobago. Impossible. We will tell you why later. But go ahead.
And you seeing that he using the senior citizens now, and I want him to understand and keep focus. That he is going to reduce all the pension, and those who are qualifying at 65, hoping to get a pension to supplement all their way of life. Remember, this is targeting the pensioners of Petrotrin, the WASA workers, the TST workers, and the metal workers who get a gratuity. No, you telling me all these people who run out of money because they're not putting into the heritage, supposed to put money into the pension plan to keep the heritage retirees and they want to send home, but they are not doing it. Stuart will come out in a press conference and say blatant, where they hear talk that the dragon, they can't focus on the dragon right now. That is out of the way. We can't. It's the humanity and humanity side. They go now scraping them gas well and them from the SIP, the PUI, the And they coming up the road, scraping to get them gas on them. And thank God for Touchstone. How much trouble they get Touchstone? And now, Shell and Mr. Lennox, I want you to do a little investigation for me and get a little information. Find out that on the east of the road block, right? See if it's a lease and farm out. You listen? Are you hearing me?
Yeah. Lease and farm out.
I want you to check and see
yes.
if it's a lease and farm out, right? Or if it's on that heritage holdings.
Okay.
And that is all I will say tonight.
I certainly will, because we may hear one of the, let's say, nascent or should I say, preferred financiers involved in that. I have a name too, but I'm not gonna hazard a guess at this point in time. But thank you very much, of course, for that contribution. Let's hear his utterance, his confirmation, his accolade about Lisa Morris-Julian, the former, of course, representative for Omira, for Dabadi Omira. Of course, there's a new name for it now. We will look at the name changes that you become familiar with. Of course, some of the changes. There are 5 name changes and about 16, of course, adjustment of constituencies in the context of the relationship between the EBC, well known, and that of Rowley and the PNM. We can say that it is gerrymandering, which of course is a manipulation of the boundaries in order to, of course, get an unfair advantage or give an unfair advantage to, of course, the PNM to the disadvantage of the other parties, and in particular, of course, Kamala Persad-Bissessar and the UNC. But just like in Tobago, where, of course, he introduced 3 electoral districts in Tobago, and moving from 12 to 15, hoping that he would get at least a little more than half of it, minimum, because it was a 6-6. So if he got 8 seats, he was comfortable. So he planned. But the Lord moves in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform. And the people responded. The people of Tobago responded when they understood that, of course, in the first instance, the postponement of the local government elections, subsequently, I'm sure they didn't have that in mind. But certainly, he arrogated unto himself the right to do what? To break the deadlock. Even though there were established procedures, including, of course, just pulling off straws. Another option could have been sharing, power sharing. They didn't even want that. Well, like the dog on the bone, Rowley and them lost all in Tobago. Lost all. So he went, of course, to the parliament with a slim, tenuous majority, only 22 seats. The UNC has 19 seats. We must not forget that. And therefore, you must check the difference between 19 and 22 and see what you get. And understand that it is just a matter of time when the elections call and you cast your vote for the UNC, the table will turn, but will turn much more favorably because they will have a massive mandate, not the tenuous mandate that Rowley got even in 2015. He only got 23 seats. And 2020, he lost 1 again. So he have only 22 right now. And then, of course, he lost another 1. He has a 2021. You understand the trend and the pattern. So there's no need to waste time in, of course, looking at any other party, 1 or 2, not understanding that it is the UNC and Kamala Persad-Bissessar are on the ascendancy because of their wonderful and, of course, a very prolific work between 2010 and 2015. A record that Rowley in 9 years can't even touch, far less, of course, to reach. But let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Hey, good night, Lennox.
Good night, my friend. Good night, my friend.
Yeah, nah, I was just listening, man.
Yes, man.
And you talking about Tobago seat and Trinidad. Trinidad don't have the backbone of doing that. Trinidadian doesn't have the backbone of doing that.
We will see. We will see. Trinidad never had a fellow like Rowley before.
The wicked to the own self, Mr. Lennox.
I hear you. But
Trinidad
never had a Rowley ever before. That's why I can tell you as well. So I'm very optimistic. But go ahead.
Yeah, what I'm saying. I said Trinidadian don't have the backbone to do that.
Yeah, I hear you. And I'm saying with a fellow like Rowley, people automatically will find the backbone.
Well, they have to find the backbone, some kind of backbone.
Yes, some kind of. Yes. Yes.
Otherwise, the wicked to their own self. You see that man.
Yeah.
You see that man. What things that do to you, and you still stand up and say it's okay?
Just imagine that. So you are suckers for punishment. There are suckers for punishment if that is the case. But no human being, no human being engages in such on a consistent basis to, of course, threaten their own survival, existence, and well-being. No human being does that on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
The Germans dismiss, of course, Hitler, etc. Italy dismissed Mussolini, and we can go on and on, Saddam Hussein in Iraq, for example. But go ahead, my friend.
Right. Yeah, look how many things that man do. Look how many things from day one. I was following up all the time, man, that man.
Yes.
He do things of day one. From day one, Mr. Lennox.
Yes.
Day one, man. And all his stand up, okay, 5 years passed, election come in 2020. Why you didn't change the narrative? Why? You close up petrol train, you leave from COVID, you leave all your people outside, they die. Look, how many things that man do? And still they put him back there.
I would say people were in a stupor on two bases. One, they couldn't believe that was in fact happening and a man could think so devious. Now, of course, a different story because the thing has come full circle. That's the big difference I'm making here. And the other thing is that the narrative and the propaganda of Rowley and Andy had to be, of course, further critically examined with time. 9 years is sufficient time, and the people all over the country know who Rowley is. They are just marking time, even though, of course, it is not reflected in, of course, mass protests, largely because they know of the coercive force that will be applied, even though it is illegal, by, of course, the law enforcement agencies whose leadership is in the pockets of course, Rowley and the PNM. No doubt. So they are conscious.
But that's why he doing what he doing.
That's right. That is why he believes that he could get away with it. And he engages, of course, in what is called brinksmanship. He takes things to the edge because he could do it. He takes the salary that was recommended because he can do it. He, of course, ordered the tear gassing and, of course, the arresting of persons during COVID because he could do it. And, of course, dismiss Gary Griffith, etc., because he could do it. And, of course, he would have engaged, of course, in the covering up of the fake oil matter because he could do it. And the same thing, of course, with the Brent Thomas matter, and the same thing, of course, with the Vincent Nelson matter, and the same damn thing with, of course, the collapse eventually of the Police Service Commission. All of that, he did it because he could do it. He interfered with it because he believed he can do it. But, of course, as the old people say, one day, Congo te. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, Lennox, I know the most wickedest person and hateful person I ever seen,
Yeah.
and people does not realize what is going on. We from here, one of we people from the people who live in Hawaii, we seen what this man doing, and I always wonder, is people for real?
Yes, indeed. That's why he and all
people
that
for real,
took
Mr.
himself to
Lennox?
ask if Trinidad is a real place, trying to convince people that Trinidad is a real place. He has made it fantasy island. He has made it, of course, something in Antarctica because of the brutal way that he has managed the country and his, of course, attempt to be so above the law, and the rule of law is not applicable to him, nor who he prefers to, of course, defend. That is the man, the evil called Keith Christopher Rowley.
Yeah, Mr. Lennox, I look at the state of that country, man.
Look at the
state of that country.
It is abominable.
Nice country come to, Mr. Lennox.
Yeah, only because
that
of
country
the
come
iniquities, of this man,
Nice place.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Lennox, I don't give nobody back because
all right.
I don't know what else to say, man. I
hear you.
I'm
I hear you. But of course, we have a job to do, and Christmas Day we will also continue. Let's take this other call. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good afternoon, Lennox, and to all the corridor listeners.
Yes, thank you very much, and I'm sure that they would appreciate that, especially in this Yuletide season. Go ahead.
I'm going to start with some famous word by Pandey. Pandey says, if you attack my government or my party, you will not go unscathed. I hear somebody who have an organization called Fishermen and something, which is not his core business.
Friends of the Sea, yes.
Right, I won't call name.
I will call the name, Gregory Aboud.
Right. I want to know what is his agenda. And I'm going to give you 2 data points. All right? One of them, you remember Monos Island?
Yes.
All right. You remember a headless nephew of a PNM minister?
Yes.
All of we know what they were involved with. You have a core business of selling curtains, but all of a sudden you have another activity about fish and men and all kind of thing.
Yes.
Is that an activity to protect the border and create a go-to track? I am saying no more. I go on and people follow and understand what Pandey. Keep your eyes on the bullseye. UNC have to win if we want to save this country. We have gone down 6 feet and we're not going with the Pied Piper, aka KCR. Cannot do that. Good night.
Good night to you as well, my friend. Words of wisdom indeed. And of course, with an abundance, of course, of what I consider to be not just caution, but very, very important for you to, of course, assimilate for action, because it's action that is needed. It is always said, an ounce of action is better than a pound of talk. And while we can talk here night after night, the ounce of action that is needed, your index finger, is what is going to, of course, resolve this situation. And as I said, and of course, I love to, of course, engage the callers because they are very intelligent, and we need, of course, to discuss. We may have varying views about the same thing, but what I know for sure, the objective is singular. The enemy is both monolithic and also, of course, one. And that is, of course, the criminal enterprise run by a mafia element who happens to be the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Keith Christopher Rowley. Let us continue. So he says it about, of course, Elisa Morris-Julian, is the best, of course, parliamentary representative in his cabinet. For those of you who just came in and just tuned in, listen to Rowley.
Lisa Morris-Julian, describing it as a tragedy no one could have anticipated. Prime Minister Rowley said he's not looking forward to the funeral as the reality of the situation becomes more real. He said the last time he saw Mrs. Morris-Julian was at a family Christmas party on Saturday.
The last time I saw Lisa, she was working her way through the crowd to leave, and she stopped and took a picture of my wife and some other people around the group, and I was never to know that was the last time I'd be seeing the best representative in the government of Trinidad and Tobago. I was never to know that was the last time I'd be seeing the best representative in the government of Trinidad and Tobago.
Let's say it again.
I was never to know that was the last time I'd be seeing the best representative in the government of Trinidad and Tobago.
And he was so spellbound. He was so spellbound. He was so moved. He was so overwhelmed and saturated and pregnant with, of course, sympathy, empathy, and sorrow that this happened. And he couldn't tell the difference between day and night and time. Because as we know, around 9 o'clock, he was at the scene. But he said his wife told him 7 o'clock in the morning. He went back to bed at 10 o'clock. And he got back up 12 o'clock. But at 9 o'clock, he was in Arima at the scene of that tragic event. You see, we have to be very careful because this man has the propensity, I tell you, that a very innocuous, of course, advertising where the UNC said and demonstrating, of course, that they are much more empathetic, much more sympathetic, much more, of course, congenial and much more, of course, humane than the PNM. And they put a basket, of course, of goods to show where they are prepared, of course, to donate and to, of course, supply. Included in that was, of course, a hand of ripe fig. And Rowley said in no uncertain terms that was for he, and that he ain't no monkey. He ain't no monkey. He ain't no monkey, and went on a tirade. And, of course, hoodwink, Point 14, Labre, and the East Corridor, to believe that somehow it was a racial attack. And so, of course, he got away with only 22 seats, but nonetheless, Westminster system say that he win the elections. We must not be in any way fooled, hoodwinked by that kind of conduct. In this particular case, he's using, of course, the death of this woman. I say he's a political kobo. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Hello, Lennox. Good evening.
Good night to you.
Yes. I want to tell Rowley and Stuart Young and the whole bunch of them, there is no praise in the grave. You don't praise people when they die. You do it when they're alive. So they could appreciate it. But it's not Rowley alone cried, you know. I don't know if you read Saturday's news. Let me just say what I say. Young said that the woman who died spurred on government ministers to perform at even higher level than they otherwise would have done, especially when directly serving constituents. Young, the PNM chairman, paid tribute at a memorial service, blah, blah, blah. Died at a fire in a Arima home, saying he had not stopped crying for her since her death.
Wow. Young
hailed her as the best the PNM and TT had to offer. So,
don't be surprised. I just want to engage. Don't be surprised if the Rowley Days campaign is that one for Morris-Julian.
Yes.
If only to respect Morris-Julian as they try to rally the troops, so to speak, or put another way, their vote bank. But this time around, they have interfered with their vote bank by, of course, trying, of course, to eliminate them by putting, of course, a clause in a law, $25,000 and above, you can't, of course, apply for old age pension. I want those who are in the system to be sympathetic to those who would have retired just as them and are in need of that $3,000 for the time being until Kamala Prasad Bisesa comes back and increase theirs, as opposed to increasing, of course, the ministers and the prime minister's money.
Yeah.
I want you to, of course, take note. Go ahead, my friend.
Let me read this last thing. Lisa would get you to do things you didn't want to do. He recalled. He fondly remembered Morris-Julian insisting he visit certain places as part of his duty. That was a great woman, boy.
I'm telling you, I'm going to show you later, people. Stay tuned. Only the corridor will do the research and bring it to you to demonstrate the kind of what I consider to be logoria. Logoria is a term that says that somebody is trying to BS you by appearing to be convincing. But go ahead, ma'am. You finish?
No, the 2nd of January, they will have to have all the services out. They might even have to get bored because the way they're crying over flood with the police for this great woman who died.
Yeah, the 2nd of January, you know, so they extracted every political, should I say,
it's like an orange.
Rotting flesh from this circumstance. Political cobos they are.
All right.
Okay then. Thank you very much. Yes. Very macabre. Yes, we have to tell them as it is. We are not going to tolerate that kind of, what I can say, logoria. Logoria, these spontaneous liars. Spontaneous liars. Pathological liars. Indurate, hard-hearted in their policies and programs. Take pleasure in taking away 11,000 food cards, Cockburn, and then Cox, taking away a couple hundred more or 1,000 more. And Rowley saying that you have to be lucky that the government did not, of course, stop giving pension or interfered with the salaries of public servants during and after the COVID and before COVID, because somehow that is something for the government to give and take. That's what he's saying. Are you telling me that anybody who following that are not suckers for punishment or promoting that kind of savagery? No. The songster says that, of course, when rain falls, it falls on every man housed up. And we who know better and are in the vast majority. The minority, of course, are those who are still in a state of bewilderment and or in a state of denial. But eventually you will get there and join, of course, the ranks of the majority who have seen who Rowley and his government is, and therefore not just ingrats, but are evil. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Hello, good night.
Good night, my dear.
I don't know if you can remember when Rowley said pensioners is a burden on him. That is the taxpayers' money paying we.
That's right. Your money as a citizen paying you, but he's saying it's a burden on him. Like if it's his money. Yeah.
Right, but he and his government is a burden on we.
Yeah.
But he's saying We is about money that got him money, like I said.
Yeah, the parasite that he is.
Like he just like what in the cesspit, dogs and being car and house.
Yes.
He just like what they're in the cesspit. Go on.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Yes, ma'am. The man is the bane of the society. The population's anathema. The man that, of course, is holding the record for the most hated man and the most hated prime minister. Talking a set of hogwash about we should be glad and beholding that they still, of course, giving pensioners money, paying of course, public servants, etc. That is their entitlement, my friend. Otherwise, you work for nothing. You work for nothing. And clearly, you are not prepared to work for nothing because you're only increasing unmeritoriously. You're blasted, indolent, lazy, but want, of course, to be in our faces, to rule and to dominate and say that that is politics, of course, without any ethical, moral, and sense of right and wrong. And, of course, always espousing laudable, high and lofty principles which he himself breaches on a day-to-day basis. Breaches, doesn't believe in it. And now, of course, is the exploitation of the debt of this parliamentary representative. We will have none of it. We will have none of it. And we will, of course, tell you on every stage, on every opportunity, what you are doing is callous, is reprehensible, it is ungodly, it is sinful, it is evil, it is inimical, and clearly, you have no compunction and no sympathy or empathy for a person's demise and the respect for it thereof. We must call out these people for who they are. They cannot use that as some kind of deflection. No. Must not allow it. Cannot afford to allow it. And we see the pattern of behavior as we have described earlier, and we will continue so to do and identify. So he said that she's what? The best minister, or the best, of course, parliamentary representative, lest, of course, I be accused, of course, misrepresenting what he's saying. But I want to show you something now. We have already shown where Rowley misconstrued date and time and so on. Let me finish that before, of course, we go to how Lisa Morris-Julian became the representative for the PNM in Dabadi, Omira. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. You will be edified, or what you know will be reinforced. We will do so with instantaneous proof.
Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley and other members of Parliament joined members of staff of the Ministry of Education in paying tribute to the life of one of their own, Minister in the Ministry of Education, Lisa Morris-Julian.
At 7 o'clock in the morning, my wife comes through the door and she asked me, "Did you hear?" I said, "Hear what?" And she said that Lisa has died and 2 of her children died with her. I have not yet got over the sound of that news. I stayed up for the rest of the morning and I went to bed at 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock,
yeah? Thought still not real. I slept until 12 o'clock and I woke up to discover that I was covered in tears. I slept until 12 o'clock and I woke up to discover that I was covered in tears. I slept until 12 o'clock and I woke up to discover that I was covered in tears. I slept until 12 o'clock and I woke up to discover that I was covered in tears. Bed at 10 o'clock. I stayed up for the rest of the morning and I went to bed at 10 o'clock with that thought still. I stayed up for the rest of the morning and I went to bed at 10 o'clock. I stayed up for the rest of the morning and I went to bed at 10 o'clock. 12 o'clock and I woke up to discover that I was covered in tears. Not real. I slept until 12 o'clock and I woke up to discover that I was covered in tears. I slept until 12 o'clock and I woke up to discover that I was covered in tears.
So he slept until 12 o'clock, but around 9 o'clock, he was at the scene coming out to his Prado, having conversation with, of course, his ministers. And don't tell me I mistaken, you know. And don't tell me that you could generate plausibility in that nonsensicality. You know what I say? I say that you cannot tell me that you see plausibility in that nonsensicality. What you want to say? That he thought was in the night? Well, if it was in the night, it would have been the day before. The incident would not have occurred. What excuse you can give me as to why he would say in the morning that at 7 o'clock he got the news from his wife and he was, of course, meditating on the matter until 10 o'clock when he went back to bed, and when he went back to bed at 10 he got back up 12 o'clock, but of course around 9 o'clock he was on the scene in Arima. What could you say? All of you talk show hawks for the PNM, and you, of course, apologists, rationalize that. I know you're going to avoid it. I know that, because of course when of course the going gets tough, people like them get weak, and they are in a state of utter perplex. Can't utter a word. They're spellbound. They're in a state of ineffability. Can't find words to, of course, express that. I want them to say how that makes sense. Rowley get up, got the news at 7 o'clock in the morning from his wife, go to bed at 10 o'clock, return to bed at 10, got back up 12, but 9 o'clock he is up at the site of the tragic incident. But don't be surprised if one of them PNM hawks and them just tell you, well, listen, you know, 9 comes after 12. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. This asinine specimen of inhumanity. They should be hanging themselves at their heads in shame, and Rowley calling an election immediately for that level of misinformation, disinformation, and why he was so meticulous in terms of the timing and got it all wrong, because he wanted to say that she was the best. He was hurried to say she was the best parliamentary representative in the government of Trinidad and Tobago. So, of course, everything else became blurred, stupid, asinine, disconcerted at a function like that. I'm sure if there were foreign dignitaries there, They would want to know if that's the rant of a madman or if Rowley is in a state of irretrievable cognitive, intellectual, and common sense decline. You hear what I say? I said they would say that Rowley was in a state of intellectual, cognitive, cerebral, and common sense decline. But let us get on, of course, to the idea that, of course, that Lisa is the best parliamentary representative in the government. You see, people, let me tell you this. Let me take off a Rowley face because I know people are very offended by that face. So let me take it off. Let me tell you this. And for those of you who know, well, of course, it will be, of course, regurgitation, or should I say reinforcement of what you already know. You see, there was a fellow called Ansel Antoine. Many of you would have known that he was the representative for Dabadi O'Meara before her. And he was reselected for that seat in the 2020 general elections. Ansel Antoine, a former, of course, a brigadier of military background. Yes, indeed. And on a podium or in a meeting, he made derogatory statements about the United States when Donald Trump was around. He said that of course, the United States is a shithole. And he claimed that he was, of course, regurgitating what Donald Trump was saying. But, of course, he was also advising Trinbagonians not to invite Americans to Trinidad, etc. A number of things that he said in that statement that he would have made. But the idea of Delcy Rodriguez was still fresh in everybody's mind. Rowley and them knew that. And we on the ground report, we had sent, of course, we were sent a pre-action protocol letter from Stuart Young, Rowley's, of course, sidekick, and Small Pin, let us call him. I call him a whole ass. Some would prefer to say an asshole, but I say a whole ass. So he sent us a pre-action protocol letter about 3 or 4 pages, saying that we lying on he, and that of course it appears that he and Rowley in his pre-action protocol, and don't get me vexed before I pull it up now, you know, because it will come in due course. And he said to us that he is involved in racketeering and so on. Of course, we said on the program that birds of feather flock together, and if Delcy Rodriguez was invited into this country in the way that they did, our own people could not have come in, but she was allowed to come in at the airport, and then of course, should I say, escorted down to the Prime Minister's office, whether it be in the Whitehall or at the Diplomatic Center. The fact of the matter is that she came with her delegation. Our residents, our citizens couldn't come in, but she came. But we also know that, and you should know by now, that she is wanted on a whole continent in Europe for, of course, narcotics. And of course, the day, I think it's the same day or the day before, she came to Trinidad on an aircraft that is, we learned afterwards, was a sanctioned aircraft. Rowley and them didn't know it. Them saying they didn't know. Yeah, as of course, they didn't know everything that is, of course, they see inimical to their political, should I say, currency, that of course is waning, and of course is now, has been devalued to the point where if it was the white line on the road, it would be lower than that. I should tell you how low their currency is politically. But of course, she came into the country Stuart Young sent us a pre-action protocol letter saying that was what we are saying about him is defamatory. Well, we sent him back a blasted, no lawyer, no UNC lawyer. So all your sycophants and the apologists and the talk show hoax, you don't have that as an edge at all. No lawyer. Lennox Smith draft the whole blasted thing. About 50 pages in response to every single line. Every single line that he put in that 3-page letter, we put 50 pages in response. And we sent it at the deadline, 4 o'clock, to his lawyers, back to his lawyers. People, that was about 4 years ago. 4 years ago, we had think about it, or from Stuart Young or his lawyers again. He had people, of course, on that lawyer sheet, such as, of course, the Rowley's lawyer are talking about Michael Kwamina. Yes, and of course, the others that getting big money in that, of course, what I consider to be legal cartel that Rowley and they established to, of course, I believe I could go fast to say to launder Trinidad and Tobago's treasury money. Yes, through these blasted lawyers that they hire. Because that too was pulling tooth from a baby. They didn't want to tell us at all, even though, of course, I sent a request through the Freedom of Information, and they tell me point blank that is similar to national security secret, and therefore they cannot give me it. Well, of course, the UNC was able, of course, to get it. True, of course, the very powerful, of course, activist that has been getting, of course, what he wants legally through the electoral process, because we are not rich people. So I will go as far as the ombudsman, but of course he would go as far as the Privy Council, because he have, of course, powerhouse such as Anand Ramlogan on his side. I'm talking about well, somebody call me and tell me the name of the guy. I don't want to mispronounce or misrepresent his name. But the fact of the matter is, 4 years now, and you know, if they only believe that they had an upper hand, they will have called a press conference and say the ground report, Lennox Smith and Andy Williams defame Stuart Young and Rowley, and they send them, of course, a pre-action protocol letter. He Young to defend his name. Young. So, since you have not, for the last 4 years, not responded to our response to your pre-action protocol letter, I am free to say that you is a blasted racketeer. That birds of feather flock together, and therefore you is also a blasted pusher, piper, and of course drug magnate. I could tell you that, because why didn't you, of course, go to the next step and take us to court so we could ventilate the evidence that we have? But of course, in the evidence that we sent back in the response to the pre-action protocol letter, they realized that we dulled the blade. He thought he had a blade. We dull it, because we told him. And I told you, I think the last time, so let me tell you one time what the outcome of that was. When he sent a flash drive of all of what we said, we cleaned the blasted flash drive, and we, of course, sent it back with, of course, 10 times when he lied to the people. And the first of them was the first lie, when, of course, the people of Labre were constructing, of course, that platform. Incidentally, of course, as he has encouraged, of course, Heritage to assist the platform that, of course, sank into the sea, or partially sank into the sea recently. And we get, of course, the details of that. We will share that with you ultimately. But I just bring it in to show you how blighted these people are. He can't even respond to our ordinary citizen who he sent a pre-action protocol letter. A big frontline minister, coward, Coward! Coward! All your tail. All they want to be evil and stay in people's faces. So of course, when the people in La Brea were complaining that they were being exploited on that project financed by BP, and BP threatened, of course, to take the job elsewhere. All that time, Stuart Young and Rowley went to their first trip to the so-called boardrooms of the upstreamers, BP, Shell, etc., to negotiate. Oh, what a debacle. Oh, what a failure. Oh, what a catastrophe resulted. I say so because I want to give you the conclusion first. And the conclusion is, with respect to that particular trip that he and Stuart Young made, Rowley and Stuart Young made, is that today we cannot get $50 US in the banks. So when he came back, he told the workers in Brighton working on that platform, listen, the Prime Minister was successful, and he got, of course, the BP to agree to continue, of course, with the project. And big press conference. Guess what? Why is he talking that hogwash? While, of course, he is, of course, trying to arrogate onto himself some major achievement, just as the Dragon Gas and the so many other missteps, like, of course, the first project that they boasted. I'm talking about Sandals. Yes, Sandals. Failure. Why he was having that press conference, and of course giving the good news to the workers that they should be going back to work, etc. Well, BP hired a blasted tug and pulled the whole platform. They call it the Angeline platform, first of its kind in the country. Pull the blasted entire platform to a port in Mexico for completion. That's Stuart Young. And we call him a blasted liar because he was telling the people they went and they negotiated. And of course, he came back first. Rowley stayed back. I don't know if he stayed to play golf or if the American authorities. Now, I think Delcy Rodriguez didn't come yet. So therefore, they would not have had that on him as yet. But I'm sure over the nine years, he has some serious questions to ask as far as, of course, monies that would have been transferred or would have been electronically transferred, utilizing, of course, the American system. And I'm sure that they would have picked up with him. Don't be surprised. You take his blue lights and silver bracelet in Trinidad alone for these fellas? The point I am making is Stuart Young, I could say to you categorically that you're a blasted racketeer. You are a drug mule, because Delcy Rodriguez is wanted on a whole continent, the European continent, for drugs. And of course, her boss has a bounty on his head of over about $15 million for exporting narcotics to the United States. And every minute, Young is, of course, there telling us one story, and the reality is something different. Whether it be, of course, the license that was, of course, given by the United States, or the license given by Venezuela. And guess what? There is always something sinister to unfold that was never delivered or exposed or told to us by these fellas. And what was the most egregious one? That the arrangement for 30 years for Trinidad and Tobago, of course, to extract the gas in the Dragon Field and I think the Laurel Manatee, but of course on the Venezuelan side, well, Trinidad and Tobago had to pay Venezuela up front $1 million US annually until the project comes to fruition. He didn't tell us that. He didn't tell us that. So he finds money, of course, to pay the Venezuelans for gas that may never reach here. Trump is coming. And then, of course, we have this situation where recently he tries to blame, of course, the UNC for an investment some 10 years ago, because under Rowley, the NGC lose money, didn't make a profit for the first time twice under Rowley. Blaming everybody else. So Chung, go to the parliament and answer the questions that was posed to you by Munilal. Go there and do that. You'll have to say who you talk to, because the Americans ain't making joke. And under Trump, worse yet. Under Trump, worse yet. They know that. They know their asses are grasses. So the point I am making here, people, is that Ansel Antoine said those things about the Americans. He was already selected, and the PNM had the 41 candidates for the 2020 general elections. Rowley and them panic, they get frightened, and they pull out. Yes, Ansel Antoine, they pull him out. And of course, that is how Lisa Morris-Julian became the candidate. I finished it, but let's hear this one. A pleasant good night.
Lennox?
Yes, a pleasant good night. Yes, a pleasant good night.
I say something was wrong with the WhatsApp. You know how long I've been trying to call you.
Oh, sorry about that. Well, we just got it. But that's all right. Better late than never.
That's all right.
And of
we
course,
will talk.
all
Yeah,
good
better
things
late than never.
You wait for, yes.
Yeah. Lennox,
Yes.
you know, my bone of contention tonight, I want to deal with Gary Aboud.
Go ahead, man.
Right? Now, if Gary Aboud have a problem with Philip Alexander, because it's not now Philip Alexander talking about the 1%. From the time he started his political party, he was talking about the 1%. Right? Why didn't Gary Aboud say something all the time? Why you wait now till there is an accommodation with the UNC to talk about Philip Alexander being the mouthpiece of the UNC? But you know what is distasteful? He lying and say he have no political affiliation. That's a lie. We all know, and he admitted it on the ground report, that he voted for the PNM. And you realize that now how the PNM was lying and all this kind of thing. Because when he went to the Freedom of Information to get the information on Petrotrin,
Yes.
right? Now, I don't know what is their problem with Kamala. I think it's hatred and jealousy, right? Because you know they're ugly like sin, right? And they always have something to say about Kamala.
Yes.
Lennox, Kamala never appointed Philip Alexander to speak on her behalf or on behalf of the UNC.
But everybody knows that
But
he
this-
is not a UNC. So to anybody to come up with that incongruent, asinine irrationality, merely either in cahoots with the PNM, representing the PNM, or just arriving from the sun, which is not a planet,
Right.
but I want to say the sun. That is how ignorant they are. But go ahead.
Lennox, you using all those big words. I would have said bullshit and effrontery.
Go ahead. That too is permissible.
Yeah.
Yes.
That too, all that could work, right? All
Yes.
that could work. Lennox, to come and say that he is going to align himself with other parties to get rid of Kamala and the UNC once and for all. I didn't know Kamala take you white foul. I didn't know Kamala prevented him from bringing in something in the country that he wanted to bring in. But you could see all of them, they're campaigning for the PNM.
Oh yes, clearly.
Why all of a
I haven't
sudden?
heard it. I haven't read it. but I've heard it. But I will, of course, in due course, see the documentation to make my analysis as well. But from the preliminary,
because
from a prima facie perspective, he was always cagey. He was always, should I say, reticent. Always not wanting to discuss something like the fella from the scrap dealers. I see he in the same category. Yeah.
Lennox, let me put it in a nice way for you.
Ahead,
he's a closeted PNM. He's a closeted PNM.
But at the same time, being, of course,
like
in the public space. But being in the public space still.
Yeah.
Yes. So go ahead.
Why is he attacking Kamala? And Kamala did nothing to him. Just like a lot of useless people, right? Kamala ain't do them nothing, right? But they always have something to say about the woman. If they were intelligent or as good looking as she, I didn't mind. But some of them, they're black and they're ugly, and they're still on the woman case.
Well, as you know, and we have said it over and over and over, it's only a fool does the same thing over and over and doesn't understand.
It's true.
We have always said
Lennox,
that ripe fruits, whether it's mango or otherwise, will always be sought after, and therefore will try to pelt it down. So we understand that, and therefore what we know is that the inevitability of Kamala Persad-Bissessar-led UNC government is so conspicuous, is so obvious that to them is like a dagger in their heart, and therefore of course would want to, of course, disturb, interrupt, prevent, delay, but none of the above they will be able to achieve. The victory is assured.
But Lennox, this alliance, this accommodation, have them antsy.
Yes, of course.
Have them antsy, yes. Right? Yeah. But is it things that this man was saying about Kamala?
Yes.
Right? And he had to bring in, well, of course, he had to bring in Indian people into it.
Oh, yes. But that is
right? He had to bring in the Pennywise people.
Journey. That's a journey that we traveled already past, because of course if Tobago is saying get the hell out way, tell me about Calcutta ship and of course the head of the PDP at the time, the team of the PDP, Watson-Duke and others was liming with, of course, Kamala. They had these, I was there, I had these handbills all over Tobago. The people rejected them outright. They're lucky they get a seat. As I expect the same to happen in Trinidad. They will be lucky if they get a blasted seat, including, of course, they must get the Laventilles as well. But go ahead, my friend.
Lennox, I want it to be like the 33 and let three of them sit down there, Camille, Rowley, and Imbert, and take the jamming. But getting back to Gary Aboud, right? Yes. Is Gary Aboud now affiliated with Gary Griffith and the rest of them to try to bring down Kamala's party?
Gary,
and he's saying, he's saying that he have to get rid of Kamala and the UNC.
He has no political traction.
What Kamala and the UNC doing you?
But he has no political traction. Aboud is a maverick in the Syrian and of course the 1% community. That's all he represents. But to say that he could tell the vast or could appeal to any segment of the mass electorate, that's a fallacy. Gary Griffith, of course, Gary Griffith is in a state, it appears, of permanent cognitive dissonance.
Gary Griffith have a tobacco.
He has, of course.
He have a tobacco.
He has, of course.
Like all of them have a
flipped and scuttled his opportunity, and now in an attempt to a frenzy to scramble what he could salvage, finding himself, of course, going deeper like quicksand. So the writing is on the wall, and the inevitability of extinction is, of course, at hand.
Yeah, Lennox, and it have them antsy.
Yes,
It
yes,
have
yes.
them eating up themselves.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right? And
No doubt.
but I want to tell him,
Yes.
you want to get rid of the UNC, but tonight we all made a decision that you want to get rid of the UNC. UNC people are going to boycott Moda Live. We are
That's
not
all
going
you
to
have
spend
to do. They
another
believe that we don't have
cent.
response
Yeah.
capability, response
Yeah.
power. Well, power resides, of course, in resource base and capacity building, and the UNC
They
has
forget
all
about
of
people's
it.
power.
Yes, PNM has
Yeah.
access to the purse strings of the country, but the power resides, of course, in the UNC, and it's, of course, many arms and, of course, initiatives. Whether they could go to the Privy Council, whether they could force you, of course, to almost dismiss a president. I mean, all of that power the UNC has, but they do it sparingly and only when it is meritoriously required. Otherwise, they could have done more than what they're doing. They could bring out mass of people. It's over 300,000 persons, but they have not done that because they don't want to disrupt the economy. They have, of course, a responsibility when they get into office to, of course, continue the process of rehabilitation after, of course, this despicable group of individuals who clearly are con men and con women and have amalgamated themselves in a criminal enterprise called the PNM of a mafia style. And we, of course, must address all of these matters in the interest of the public and the citizens of this country as we move Trinidad and Tobago forward.
That's right.
Post Rowley.
That's
post
right,
the PNM.
Lennox.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And as I said, you want to push on the UNC, we are going
We
to
have the
push back on
capacity,
you,
we have the
Mr.
response
Gary Aboud.
capability. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
You see, they don't tell me nothing. I'm the only man for all 9 years. He talk about what's the joke. He talk about others. He never call my name. And when he started to call my name, well, you know, that is when I will, of course, be a little more, I shouldn't say a little more, totally aggressive and of course, unleash
Here,
thunderous
Lennox.
a thunderous attack on these individuals, I don't want individuals, that will, of course, reflect on the total destruction of the PNM.
Well, I want to be saying tonight that just now Rowley going to get you off of this program. I didn't know Rowley on YouTube.
Yeah, well, of course,
tell me now, Rowley on YouTube.
I hear plenty cock like that crow at end by Kentucky.
Real goat mouth, you know.
Yeah.
Man,
but the end by
mouth,
Kentucky,
you know.
the end by Kentucky, and by, of course, Royal Castle, etc. You know in what form? Edible form. Yeah. I don't time with them.
Lennox, they want to get you off the program.
Yes, I know that.
Boy.
And I am saturated with resistance. Never seen before. If you want to see me, really get on. Let them come directly, and you will see what will happen. And they are not yet out of the woods, even though I said what I just said, because they may well get it because of the iniquities they have done to the people of Trinidad and Tobago over the last 9 years. Next year will be 10.
That's inevitable.
Yeah.
That's inevitable. But you know, Lennox, before I leave, I want to say, Gary Aboud is a fraud. I'm saying it.
Yes.
Because look at what Rowley has been doing to this country for the last 9 years. And I never heard you talking about you're going to work with the rest of the parties to get rid of the PNM. But Philip said something about you, and you want to work with the other parties to get rid of Kabla. Make that make sense to me now, but wait. Philip coming after him. Philip ain't leaving that so, you know.
Of course
Philip
not.
coming after
him. But I'm
him.
sure that he will seek advice now from Kamala because there was some things that he went overboard with that I too felt that he could have said it better. So he needs, of course, to be a little more timid. A little more tamed.
He need to tone it down.
Yeah,
he need to tone it
not
down
as
a bit.
wild as he was before, because he is in the big league. He has catapulted to the big league, and therefore, of course, he must do like me, always tempered but very conscious of the statements and the extent to which I am prepared to go because I have the backings. Of course, clearly, the
Right.
statement he would have made that created a concern or interjection by Kamala, did not have that kind of protection.
I think one of the things that he said was about Morris. He said that she was no saint, right? One of the things that she was no saint, the way people get to know about her,
Yes.
with her racist statement about especially Ghassan Yousaf, right? When
Yes.
he was mayor of Arima.
Uh-huh.
And then one of the other statements is talk about with Camille, she should hold she belly and ball now for all the people that died. But I agree with him. 619 murders, hold your belly now and ball.
Yes.
No ball for one, ball for all.
Yeah, but
Ball
I
for the
think it
22
was
babies
more
that died
from,
in the queue.
it was more from one parliamentarian to another. In such circumstances,
Yeah.
there is a fraternity, and you don't, if you are attached to a leading player, you don't, of course, make that. I suppose that is the lesson that Philip will
Well,
learn
you know
from
Kamala
Kabbalah.
already, yeah?
Yes,
You know
yes.
Kamala already.
Yes.
She's
So that is
she's not a
expected, yes.
wajang like Rowley.
Yeah, if he was
She's
on his
not a
own,
wajang
I
like
mean,
Rowley,
it was permissible. There's nothing she could say. But certainly, the teasers and those who, of course,
Yeah.
are attempting, of course,
Because-
to put kink in the armor that she has. We
Yeah.
certainly look for anything
Yeah.
extraneous.
That's right. Well-
internal, irrelevant to Oshios, they will, of course, attempt to treat with that. That is why Philip has to be careful now
Philip,
that he is so associated.
well, you know Gary Aboud, he looking for big kings in her armor, but he will get it good and proper because the backlash has already started.
Yes, of course, of
Lennox,
course.
I want
Thank
to
you.
wish you and your family a happy Christmas and all the best for the new year, and to all the some of our corridor transformation friends and families.
Yes.
All the best for the Christmas and the new year.
Yes.
Take care, everybody, and be safe.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Of
Later.
course, I will be on Christmas Day as well, so look out for that. Yes, of course. That was, of course, Ms. Santa Cruz, our what I consider the external correspondent. So you'll know we have to take a little more time than others. But thank you for your patience. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Lennox,
Yes,
good night. You hear me good?
loud and clear, my friend.
Gary Aboud is a rat smooch.
Is that what?
A rat smooch.
I hear you. Give me the meaning of that.
Why did they stop Rwanda and from matching up the forest going to in Valencia Day? And he's just a big activist. Yeah? But forget about him.
But you know, I will prefer to call him a rat's ass.
A rat shit then.
Yeah, all of that. Because I mean, it is almost hilarious because I remember distinctly when, of course, he said that he, through the freedom of information, he got information that, of course, Petrotrin was funding itself. The oil refinery was not a burden on the country, and of course, he concluded by saying that is it that some friend of the Prime Minister or the PNM got a bunker fuel license even before, of course, the information about the closure of Petrotrin had occurred or reached the public domain, and therefore it appears that they're looking to be the best favored and get rich, of course, unmeritoriously. That's what the man say. And,
Yeah, but
you now come to make a
report.
statement like what, of course, I just heard there. I have not read it, I want to confess. But of course, coming from people like you and Ms. Santa Cruz and so on, I have to say it's gospel. But of course, I will do my own, of course, assessment of it. Go ahead, my friend.
Since when he used to call the ground report, he used to be bad talking, Gabler. But don't study right now.
Well, I know that he used to hedge. He used to
Yes,
hesitate.
yes.
He used to hesitate. Anytime you corner him, he will, of
Yeah.
course, try to obfuscate or generate some kind of semantics to get out of the direct
that's
questioning, the direct answer to a question where he would have, it would have indict him to, of course, say yes or no whether you are associated. He normally will give you some ambiguity. But go
Right.
ahead, yeah.
But I hear you talking about his army man tonight, short job.
Yes.
But you forget to mention his army part.
Yeah, that part. Yeah, thank you very much for reminding me about that. I will certainly
You must
continue
never
with that.
forget
Yeah.
that.
Blasted Zami man.
Me man, right?
You know about Zami? I wonder.
Yeah.
They say that experience is the best teacher. You know.
But you know that growing up, you was full of something.
So I call him a Zami, but of course, experience is the best teacher. That's why I know for sure. So therefore, he probably sees in others that which is in him. Go ahead.
That's right.
Yeah.
But let me tell you this. Your partner from Tobago, when he didn't want to continue because he said he's having here tonight.
Oh, I see. All right.
That's when had the backbone, you were wrong, eh?
Yeah. I agree with you. I agree with you. I have to see that. I have to experience it to believe it now. Because as I said, there was never in Trinidad and the Tobago a Rowley. And that character stinks. Both in Tobago and in Trinidad. Worse.
Only have rheumatic fever in the brain. I have no doubt about that.
Yeah, the man has gone berserk, man. Ranting
But
over
you see what you bring up here with Tobago?
Yeah.
When you create the next treaty?
Yeah, your own people purge you.
Yeah, and he still
That level of catharsis, I mean, is irretrievable. You can't go back there. It's 15. It's 3 seats you add to 12. And you only get one. You only get one. You don't know that you have been summarily rejected, purged, and of course puked and vomited upon. Yeah.
Because remember the 18 thing with Pandy, right?
Yes.
That morning in the playway, I was talking in Panyard and everybody said they played 18 and they played 36.
All right.
Right? I am a partner. So let me go for a make and let me go build.
Right.
Let me reach a build. I go to somebody playway booth. I say, go and put $100 on 7.
Yes.
Right? 7. I say, you go and put the $100 on 7. You tell them not to the Panyard. I say, you have to look at the game like giraffe, the game of hog.
Yes.
Right? They play 7. Check them as a boss. I say, because I watching things the correct way.
All right.
So when you just bring up there in Tobago, it's factual. It happened here too.
Yes.
The people here can't be so damn stupid enough.
Well, I hear you. Of course, people like animals, like plants, will of course will countenance or tolerate abuse to a point, but there will be a point of no more. There's a threshold, and eventually, it's just like what we see with what occurred with Hitler. People tolerated him. Mussolini, of course, Gaddafi, who again, Saddam Hussein, and it's the case as is unfolding in Venezuela now. People will tolerate that. Of course, they will do what they have to do to try to remain in office by, of course, humiliating the people, forcing the people, and subjecting them to all kind of oppression and so on. But eventually, the evil cannot prevail over good. That is how, that's how it goes. Yes. So Rowley is evil, and he will not prevail. Yeah.
Shell cannot sign on to Venezuela.
Yes.
He can't have nothing to do with Venezuela. Donald Trump will take with the license.
Yeah. So we'll see what's happening there.
It's not Biden, you know. It's Donald Trump that he let it know.
That's right, exactly. Anyhow, well, let's see how it pans out. But I have some calls coming in. Is that right?
We ain't getting nothing from me.
Okay then, thank you.
Right now, one other thing I wanted to tell you.
Hurry up. Yeah, go ahead.
Anything my wife go by Gary Abu to buy anything else cost.
Very good.
I said, when you're going to buy things for me, you don't hear the man when we talking on the going report?
Yes.
Talking a riddle, you don't like UNC.
All right, my friend. I have about 3 calls waiting. All right, so later we will talk. Yeah, okay then. Boy. Yeah, tonight is a very hectic night. A pleasant good night, welcome. Pleasant good night. Oh, sorry about that. What's happening there? But we have about 2 calls one time. Good morning. A pleasant good night, welcome. I'm a confused boy. Hello? What the hell? A pleasant good night, welcome. Pleasant good night, welcome. Pleasant good night, welcome.
Good night, Mr. Lennox.
Good night to you, my friend.
Yeah, good night, Mr. Lennox.
Good night to you. Good night. I'm hearing you. Go ahead.
Yeah, good night. Yeah, good night, Mr. Lennox.
Speak.
Yeah,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Speak.
Yeah. I do feel. Yeah, President. Good night. Good night.
I'm hearing you. Go ahead. Speak. Speak up. I hear you. Go ahead.
I don't feel we should horrify election right now. I don't feel we should be horrify election.
All right.
Today,
do you want to say what?
This evening, I was coming up. I was coming up in my vehicle and I was listening to a radio station now. The news come across. And they was talking about the screening of the candidates and whatnot now. Right? That's pertaining to the UNC now.
Yes.
And they was talking about the St. Joseph Arangwes seat, right? Because you know Arangwes joined up with St. Joseph now.
Yes.
Yeah, so they were saying that some other person they favor in front of Alan Roberts now. Right? Yeah. And the reason given that he had baggage. That the term they use. They say that Mr. Robert has baggage. So what if I want to ask you, Mr. Lennox, right? If it is right, he have baggage. It wouldn't be used in the term that how we sit in the Senate right now. That the same baggage will affect the position he in right now as a senator.
As a what? As a senator? Go ahead. I'll respond after. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So how is a current senator, right? In the parliament.
Yeah.
So how they gonna say how the news bring it across that they didn't take Mr. Roberts because he have baggage. That's how the news bring it across.
Okay.
So I was kind of puzzled that boy.
All right.
Because he's a current senator, and then they go use that terminology that he have baggage, so that's why they didn't take him and they put the other person to go up now in the screening now. But I don't feel we should horrify election right now because telling you, I ain't feeling it, boy.
All right, okay. Well, maybe next year you will feel it because it is inevitable. It's not a matter of being hurry. It will come. So that's the first thing I want to respond to.
Watch me, I real worried about this man come back in power. I real worried.
All of us. But I want you to keep the faith, and I want you to, of course, say, I will respond to your.
I would all in. I would fall all in.
Yes.
All right, but I'll listen to your answer now.
Yes. I'll give it to you in a while. We have another call on the line. Quite a lot of calls on the line, matter of fact. President, good night. Welcome. Hello. Welcome.
To your listening audience.
Yes.
I would like to ask you a question. I want you to elucidate on something for me.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I was listening to a report, an interview with an economist. Her name is Mala Dukaran.
Okay.
Are you familiar with her?
The name sounds familiar, but say that I may have followed her. I don't. I can't recall. But go ahead.
She's a Trinidadian economist.
Okay.
And she was saying that the current foreign exchange problem that we have in Trinidad and Tobago was actually created by the People's Partnership government.
Okay.
They say because they were subsidizing the sale of currency, which created an artificial shortage. Now, I am not an economist by any stretch of the imagination. So I thought that you would be able to, break that down for me to make it make sense.
Yeah. All right. So she said that, of course, they were subsidizing, and therefore, of course, there's an artificial shortage, or they were or is that
creating an artificial shortage. She said.
Artificial shortage. Normally.
Artificial shortage. In other words, there was more demand than supply.
And therefore, there's an artificial shortage.
Yes.
Well, I am a bit confused, because I mean, but did she say what is the situation today then? If it is that those factors that created this so-called artificial shortage, I would assume would have been removed. But how come we still have a shortage?
Oh, because she said. She said
because what?
After the People's Partnership government was voted out and the PNM was voted in, they didn't change it to what it was before. They left it as it was, and so we continue to experience a critical shortage for foreign exchange.
No.
But as I said, I am not an economist.
I hear you, but I disagree. I disagree wholeheartedly with that analysis, because you see the causative agent, the underlying factor is that our supply of gas, oil, and the production of petrochemical drastically would have been reduced. We are an oil-based economy, and as oil-based economy with a mono, of course, export commodity that is earning foreign exchange, it is clear that when there is a slump, you are going to feel the repercussions. So when there's a high, of course, you will have a boom. That is how it is. In 2008, there was, of course, the highest amount of money we have ever earned was in that particular year. And then, of course, after that, quite apart from the fact that in 2022, no, not 22, about 2002, we were producing something like 122,000 barrels of course, crude oil per day. Now it has morphed down since about when the UNC came into office to something like 44,000 barrels per day. I'm talking about crude oil, right? For export. Now, the machine of a Petrotrin by Rowley, and they created a situation where he told us that the heritage would have been increasing, because they could now focus on just finding and, of course, producing oil for export. That has not materialized. In fact, there's a further deterioration. But there's another factor, and that is Rowley and they went and negotiate a gas price, because we have become a gas economy. Rowley and they went and negotiate a gas price that, of course, on two occasions within the last 9 years, it has not realized a profit, even though, of course, it was considered to be the cash cow of the government. A number of projects would have been emerged or financed by that particular arrangement. But more than that, the high gas price that was negotiated by Rowley, and when they went in the first stint in the boardrooms of these upstreamers, 3-4 years later, caused I should say a matching, an exodus of some 11 companies at Point Lisas. Now these companies rely on natural gas either as a stock, meaning that as a feeder stock or feeding stock, or as a fuel. And because of the high prices, Lara and even, of course, the steel mill, made their exit, in addition to about 10 other companies. So the way how and while, of course, the stock of foreign exchange, Rowley and they met in 2015, over 10 billion in, of course, the reserve, over 5 billion in the Heritage and Celebration Fund, and there was still excess liquidity of about 5 billion in the banks, etc. What we have seen is a massive mismanagement of the resources of the country, because you have to replenish, and what they were benefiting from is what, in fact, in terms of a slight increase in gas in gas supply, was as a result of the investment made by the UNC in 2013 thereabout, when of course they incentivized the upstreamers to come here. Of course, that was something that was criticized by Rowley, and they went, of course, and tried to correct that, and now we of course are in a state of total want, need, and of course extremely emaciated as far as gas supply is concerned, and foreign exchange as a consequence. Bottom line, reduction, mismanagement has created, of course, the shortfall that is there. To say that is something was artificial, I have a difficulty with that, because subsidies has always been part and parcel of our efforts to try to redistribute the wealth of the country, one, and at the same time put less pressure on the consumer in this country, and therefore I will not subscribe to. But it is said that what is good for economics is not good for politics, and what is good for politics is not good for economics. I close there.
Well, let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Why would Rowley and Stuart Young, two nincompoops, go to negotiate? I think they went in Texas, right?
Yes,
to
they
negotiate.
said they went in the boardroom, and so of course.
Why would those two?
When it's convenient, when they get the pressure, so they then say no, it's not them. It's of course the technocrats in NGC, etc. But he was clear that he went in the boardroom and he negotiated prices, because it was sounding good at the time, not knowing, of course, that this thing was in the tail later down the road, years after, when of course the emptying of Point Lisas, and of course the non-profitability of NGC has now manifested, and only about 2 years ago, to 2022, 2023, no profits.
Now, let me ask you something, Lennox. The Minister of Energy, would he be a person that has a background in petroleum and that type of thing?
Or two. Kevin Ramnarine, you see the ease with which he pronounces on matters of energy, nature, fossil fuel based energy with a fluency that you know is an expert. But of course, people like Imsbert and Stuart Young, they are in a learning curve process. They have been given the job, and then of course they have to learn the job, of course.
Well, as you know, as you have said repeatedly, P&M is a kakistocracy.
Kakistocracy.
You've been saying that.
Yeah, the least capable have been put to manage something that clearly would collapse on them and from them. Yeah.
But not only that, P&M is also a kleptocracy.
Kleptocracy. Yes, I said that as well. So, two favorite, of course, type of government that I use frequently, as kakistocracy as well as a kleptocracy, and of course you use them simultaneously. they address both, at the same time.
But maybe I don't want to pretend that I'm giving you homework, but maybe you should look into that.
I certainly going to take a look at it, because there might be something that we can learn from what she's saying, outside of presuming that is purely for political reason that statement might have been made as we enter, of course, in the cusp of the silly season. But let's see how that. So I will take a look at it. What's the name of the economist again?
Her name is Marla, M-A-R-L-A.
Marla, yes.
Dukaran.
Dukaran, okay.
D-U-K. Now her name is Dukaran is spelled D-U-K.
Okay.
Haran.
I'll get it. Thanks very much. Of course,
Okay.
we have quite a number of
All
persons
right.
there. So
Thank you.
another Dookie is on. Let me just take that one. President Knight, welcome. Of course, there are a lot of sensitive matters that we discussed. So forgive me for taking a little more time because we need to, of course, get a handle. Everybody, of course, must be on board as to understanding why Trinidad and Tobago is in the way that it is. It is purely one term: mismanagement, lack of foresight, arrogance, contempt, corruption, and nepotism by, of course, a criminal gang that will lie for the slightest thing because they simply have no solution to the issues and problems of the country. President Knight, welcome.
Good again, Mr. Lennox.
Yes.
And I'm glad I get you after this caller from America.
Yes.
Mr. Lennox, I will start by saying I wanted to ask Ms. Dukaran, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much new incentive Stuart Young, after he succeeded from Franklin Can to drill any new wells to the expatriates and them in this country? How much new development in the energy sector? What is the milestone and the accomplishment in the energy sector in upgrading the production? They suck out what the UNC and the benefit, what the UNC had put in place and negotiated. That was a suck and a suck. And I want to remind him, if you remember a fellow named Lloyd Best and Selwyn Ryan, in PNM time under Eric William coming up the road, they were two economists talking and misleading the country. So what I will stick on the point to ask him, if the caller, I'm not scolding you, sir, but I just wanted to ask Mala Dukaran that when Rowley went to Royal Dutch office in Amsterdam, right, in Holland, and he come back with 2 Proman ship, right, where the gas is to full them ship. Do you know that Methanex mothball their plant? Because you know why? They take the gas, whatever, everything, the gas industry, and they put it in the Dragon deal, hoping that it would have come to fruition, and it bust and it falls flat in the face. And that is why the economy is dumb. And if you check it, sir, with common sense and watch it, you telling me that the public spent $4 billion in consuming goods on credit card, then something had to be wrong. Because here what's going on. If you're in Trinidad today and you're seeing how businesses is suffering to get sale, and this is the eve of Christmas Eve, they blame it on the port strike, they blame it on all kind of things, but they blame it on the economy of mismanagement. And for information, Stuart Young is a lawyer. All he knows how to do is wind up companies. Wind up companies would have a cash flow problem. He don't know about managing the gas industry. And just imagine, they come with a pie in the sky from since 2013 that the UNC buy back a plant, right, which was making money and it had money to make, and then they mothball it to say that they lost. And I was just asking you a question, sir. Do you know a Nike industry which borrow $135 million to start a plant in Pointe-à-Pierre? And where they get all that money from? And Stuart Young and them, who take the hard lash of financial disturbance in the US? And when you see that you have no foreign earners bringing in revenue, it's kind of like you're working in America. How you're working in America, and you're not bringing in enough revenue. That's only you're only paying rent and eating food. How could you progress? What is your bank savings? What is your safety net? Your only safety net is if you get 2 coupons and you go in the grocery and you save $1, right? And that's how they base it on. So I'm not scolding you. So you didn't have no new investment of any quantum to bring US into the country. So tell Mala Dukaran, right, that Angostura, when they're selling out the asset and divesting it, and the Kiko asset, which could have big revenue to the country, it's outgoing. So if everything going outwards, how we could have benefit from the inwards? Have a nice night.
Thank you very much. Let's just take this final call because it's 10 minutes past 10. I didn't realize it, people. Only I've been talking whole night and in taking note of the time. But go ahead, a pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
We're going to take 1 minute to talk here. One minute, and then you could talk.
Yes.
With Gary Aboud and Gary Griffith and whoever the hell talking. That is not an issue. It is not no issue. Look and listen to what all the opposition leaders say. They have in-house fighting and squabbling with one another, and that don't concern her. It is the PNM that is the one that always should be looking to talk about and remove. Let them talk. She paying no attention to these individuals. Let them talk. The PNM is who only have to get out of office. Now these dissidents and these police idiots that are talking as a rubbish all on social media. Stick to the plan. Stick to so focus on the PNM, not these individuals. Them is a bunch of rubbish talkers. Have a good night, Lennox.
Thank you very much, of course, for that piece of admonition. Let's take this final call. I cannot, of course, neglect, of course, our external correspondent. Pleasant good night once again.
Once again, I want to clarify something with you.
Go ahead.
When I said some people who hate Kamala, they're black and ugly, did I say African people were black and ugly?
No, you did not.
Or did I make reference? Oh, right.
And
no, because you see, has
to
some...
me, you were speaking, of course, theoretically. You were speaking, of course, in the abstract. You were speaking figuratively, to be more specific. And because I would say Rowley is ugly outside and inside. The outside
and
part
inside,
might be literal, but certainly...
The mind. Lennox, the mind.
Yes, that's right, exactly.
No, because you see, it have some mischief makers on the chat tonight, calling out African people. Only hear what it is she's saying about all you.
Yeah.
I never said anything about African people.
Just like Rowley.
Yeah, because you see, they're thinking like
Rowley.
no
monkey.
Yeah.
So we know what they will do. Calcutta ship never exists. They put a black and white... little larger than a pirogue outside Studley Park in the sea there, and people passing and say, look the Calcutta ship. Just as so, of course, the dragon was on the Red House and all that. So we know them, and after, of course,
we know them by the stripes.
The dragon on the Red House stunt. Some 13 people died of food poisoning in the madhouse. So
14
we know how blighted they are and what they will do in order to think. So Lisa Morris-Julian is the latest, should I say, victim of the political combo that, of course, is the PNM and Rowley, and they to, of course, pick on the carcass and try to take out every rotten piece of flesh on such a situation. Take it literal, take it abstract, that's your business. That is Rowley.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, because you see, Lennox, Rowley teach them well.
That's right.
Rowley teach them well that whatever people say, take it as race, right? No, I ain't saying that more African people, because it has some Indians the same way too.
Nonsense.
But you telling everybody on the live,
and their leader is a rapist and a pedophile and want to lead me. He can lead me. All the matter what? He can lead all you. Because all you're stupid in truth. Go ahead.
Yeah, telling everybody on the chat, all you hear how she calling all the African people, how she calling all the names.
Looking for sympathy, looking for ingratiations. But we know them. We know them. You can't do things over and over and people ain't going to know you. You do the same thing over and over and people ain't going to know that is the modus operandi. Just as Rowley and they. We know where they're coming from. We know Morris.
We know the nuts by the husk.
Burial quite on the 2nd of January is an attempt, of course, to pick from that carcass these political kobo led by, of course, Rowley.
So Lennox, they ain't buried the remains yet?
No, it's the 2nd of January in consultation with the family, the government said. Yeah. So we know what they're up to. We know what they're up to. Yes, it's capitalize on that. Yeah. So we are going to, of course,
but
dismiss.
Lennox.
Yeah.
the caller before me, he said something that resonated with me, right, about what they're saying about Anil. And I said that to somebody today. If Anil had baggage that they're talking about, why is Anil sitting in the Senate? But you see, Lennox is mischief makers. Is mischief. They don't know what other plans that Mrs. Prasad Bissessa have for Anil, but because she didn't put him in St. Joseph,
they get an
right
opportunity.
away,
It's
they're
opportunistic
speculating.
political parasites. That's what they are.
Yeah.
So they, just as Rowley in this particular situation with, of course, Lisa Morris Julian is political parasitic manifestation. That is what that is about. So we know them as well. So they will use that to think, because remember, Rowley was scathing when she, of course, had Anil Roberts in Diego Martin on his first, of course, comeback, let's put it that way. And he was, of course, attempting to try to prevent it from happening by bringing back live sports, etc., etc. Then, of course, she resisted all of that and ended up in the Senate and so on. So I am certain that the guru-like nature of Kamala Prasad Bissessa and her extreme ability to think things through and the multiple experiences that she is now endowed with, rest assured that she will make all of them shut up in the next couple of weeks. Let the holidays finish. Let the holidays finish, and all will see something about Anil Roberts. Why do you think Anil Roberts is still a substantive senator? Why do you think is that?
Exactly.
So because he went there, you suddenly feel sorry for him? I thought he was the live sportsman, but I noticed this fella comments, who don't know if he coming or he going, starting, of course, to generate live sport type of programs in various communities. I'm watching them. Only love to imitate and emulate the projects and programs of the UNC. Only can't create nothing for all yourself, but then at the same time, castigate and criticize that which. Let me tell you something. The hand that feed you and you bite it, according to Camille Regis Robinson, that is worse than witchcraft. Well, I want to tell them in the local parlance, that is worse than obia, and in the case of and in the case of the Haitians, it's worse than voodoo. So it's voodoo and obia that is worse than. Stop all your nonsense, Lennox, and get the hell out of office. That's what you need to do.
Go ahead. Lennox, who have more baggage than Camille Robinson, Regis, and Keith Rowley?
Rowley himself.
Who have more baggage than them? But if you check majority of them inside of there, who have more baggage? But I don't know why this,
Hines.
As I said
I
before,
know about Hines. Yeah. I know of Hines. I thought he was going to contest because I wanted finally, because I have a platform to hit him. But I'll still hit him because, of course, he wants a PNM in that way, always a blasted PNM, and therefore they must, of course, get the licking that they deserve. I'm talking verbally, of course. But I ain't talking any kind of physical.
And the majority of them, the majority of them have baggage. And Karen Nunes Teixeira have baggage.
Yeah, so,
and Darryl Smith have baggage. All of them have baggage. But they want to talk about Anil.
Try to direct
but
the
Lennox, I feel that she's going to put him back in W mirror. And if she don't put him back in W mirror,
go to the top of the class.
She's going to leave
him. You are extremely intelligent and perceptive, ma'am. That is where he will go.
Yeah.
That is where he will go.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel she'll put him back there.
That's what's
because he know the ground, he know the people and everything.
That's right. That's what's happening. So that was just what should I say? A temporary or ephemeral run. You know, just to test the waters and so on. And true to form, all of the PNM, should I say, sycophantic nincompoops will come out and their political talk show hoax and them come out. And mind you, don't be surprised if the temporary rejection of Anil Roberts is to generate neutrality as to the impact if he was chosen and Andy was left out for Grandy and another person. The woman is smart. The woman is bright. The woman is classic. And the woman is politically, no one has political currency like that woman. And of course, it is increasing in terms of value on a daily basis. The woman is beautiful.
That's right, inside and out. And Lennox, before I go, I want to tell you, is that if it is that she don't make him back an MP, she's going to leave him as a senator and give him a ministerial position.
All those are options. So I am not.
Yeah, we have a lot of options. I'm not worried. I am not worried.
Hairy-fairy, Johnny come lately, hypocritical, of course, sympathizers for the apparent rejection of Anne Roberts. I say, take that with not just a pinch, not just a box, but a truckload of salt. Truckload of salt, because they're trying, of course, to generate some kind of mischief. Yes, so anything else? Yes.
No, Lennox, take care and have a good night.
You have a good one, of course. Don't forget, people, of course, tomorrow morning, the ground report, Andy, Mikey, and myself, as we continue with these and other issues that we of necessity. But of course, I'm going to check with that economic thing. I have an economic concept. As I said earlier, there is a saying that, of course, economics, pure economics, is not good for politics. And of course, politics and the opposite is the case with respect to the if economics is not good for politics, politics doesn't like, of course, good economics. Let me put it that way. So, of course, people, we have come to the end. I trust that you had a wonderful time tonight. Of course, very hectic and very dynamic, very, of course, thought-provoking, of course. And indeed, we had an opportunity, of course, to look at. Let me just say to you that, of course, on the basis of the persons that would have been, well, I want to touch on the EBC, but I will do that tomorrow night. But let me just, one thing I wanted to share with you, the whole question of the candidates that would have been chosen by the UNC. I think is 8 of them so far. I think I will do that to tomorrow as well, as part of the program tomorrow. So let me don't create unnecessary work for myself. All right, I have them there, but I just wanted to choose. All right, let me do it quickly. Of course, I'll do it again tomorrow. Wayne Sturge, of course, Toko Sangigandi, John Michael Ali Bocas, San Fernando East, of course, Dr. Natalie Chaitan Miraj, Aruka Lopino. We have, of course, Richard Smith, Trinity Maloney. Of course, we have Devish Miraj, Aranguez, St. Joseph, and then, of course, the 3 that was there before already selected, of course, Saddam Hussein for Barataria Sanwan, Vindana Mohit, Chaguanas East, and then, of course, Michael Dowlat, San Fernando West. Those are the candidates selected, persons screened and selected as candidates under the UNC banner for the time being. You never could tell what could transpire because, of course, there are discussions taking place with other parties. You may get a surprise as well in terms of the parties that may well be considered as what I consider to be durable partners in this collective effort to make certain that the PNM get out of office, and must do so, of course, with a high degree of alacrity. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. See you tomorrow night, and of course tomorrow morning on the ground report.
We wish you a Irie Christmas. All year and New Year's are just the same. Christmas on a broke pocket day. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a dance all New Year. Great tidings, Natty Jane bring you. Great tidings, Natty Jane bring you. Great tidings, Natty Jane bring you. And a dance all New Year. We skank and rock it to the rhythm. We rock and we rock the rhythm. We scrub and we rub and we dub wise. And a happy dance. We bring you a Merry Christmas. We bring you a Merry Christmas. We bring you a Merry Christmas and a dance all New Year.
Greetings and Merry Christmas. Yo, man, go come and go in Bethlehem, so the Holy Bible said. Mary's boy child, Jesus Christ, was born on Christmas Day. Hark now, hear the angels sing, a king was born today, and man will live forevermore because of Christmas Day. Mary's boy child, Jesus Christ. Follow me, and I'll give you rest.
Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley and other members of Parliament joined the members of staff of the Ministry of Education in paying tribute to the life of one of their own, Minister in the Ministry of Education, Lisa Morris-Julian.
At 7 o'clock in the morning, my wife comes through the door and she asked me, "Did you hear?" I said, "Hear what?" And she said that Lisa has died and 2 of her children died with her. I have not yet got over the sound of that news. I stayed up for the rest of the morning and I went to bed at 10 o'clock with that thought still not real. I slept until 12 o'clock and I woke up